Pastor Rhonda and I were only supposed to work together for 1 month. It has now been 8 years.
At the time that I was serving under contract, they were in the search process for a lead pastor. By June of 2016, Pastor Pete Warmanen arrived.
I remember the day perfectly. We decided to go get coffee together and we went for a walk. We talked about all of our hopes and dreams for ministry. We knew in that moment we were supposed to for sure be serving together for longer than a month. Serving here at our Saviour's with Pastor Rhonda is a daily surprise. Surprised by God's amazing grace, surprised by the fun that we get to have.
We're like two Ernies. There are days when we're Laverne and Shirley. I don't know. We could fit every comical duo that you see out there on TV.
Partners in ministry, but we're also almost like brother and sister in some ways, which can be a challenge, right? Because it means that we can get on each other's nerves.
We're amazingly supportive. You know, we fight for one another. We fight with one another, but we fight for one another.
We recognize the gifts that we both have. We recognize our strengths and our weaknesses, and we just strive to lift each other up.
We are two people who love God. It's so embedded in us that we can't help but share it. And we start with one another, and then it radiates outward.
Because we have served together for as long as we have, we both have experienced some tremendous challenges, both in our personal lives and in the ministry that we do here.
We're in a predominantly white religious institution. Status quo is to have a white male pastor. When I came out of seminary, one of the pieces of advice that I was given, for white males, you can expect to have a call possibly before you leave seminary to about 3 months after you leave seminary. And for Black females, 3 to 5 years. It must be an amazing feeling to know that you belong, that there's a place for you. The church does not hesitate to call you and see your gifts that God has put in you. And it comes from a very different place to sit in my skin to say, I gotta struggle, I gotta fight for this call. I'm not always welcome, and I'm not always just accepted as leadership in a natural form.
One of the things that points out that we are truly Lutheran pastors, truly Lutheran rostered leaders, is that we depend on God's amazing grace. We are not perfect. We try really, really hard to live out God's call, but when we stumble, when we fall, when we fail, which is quite often, we lift each other up, and we know that God is lifting us up.
There was one point he says, you know, I recognize that I come from a place of privilege. I'm determined to make sure you share in my privilege, even if it's to my detriment. It takes really strong heart to say that and to walk into that kind of power that somebody's sharing with you. As we come to terms with race and gender and inclusion, we both have had to learn and grow. When the congregation gets to see us do that out loud, on purpose, with intentionality, they're willing to do it too. Spiritually speaking, I think we have a good model. The congregation is growing because of that.
This is a big church family, and we provide as much diversity and different gifts and talents in this place as we can.
We've learned how to deal with our conflict. We've learned how to struggle. And we've learned that at the bottom line, we're on the same team fighting against a problem, and that we are not each other's problem. It's the nature of relationship, but it's the nature of how God deals with us. God is very gentle to us when we most need it, very patient, very grace-filled, and then sometime God puts something right in our face and says, hey, this is problems, we need to deal with this.
The joy that we see reflected in other people, the energy that happens in this place, the tremendous worship that we get to experience here, and knowing that people are inspired in this place to go out beyond these walls to be the hands and feet of Christ. That is the journey of this life and of ministry.
We make this setup work because we choose to. God forged us to do this work. God gave permission, God signed off, God endorsed, and then God blessed. That's flipping awesome.